$300 million. That's how much Ibrahim Traoré just committed to a new national stadium in Burkina Faso. And the world is shocked. Some are celebrating, others are criticizing, but everyone is asking the same question. Why would a country fighting poverty, terrorism, and sanctions build a stadium? The answer? Because Traoré isn't just rebuilding infrastructure, he's rebuilding identity. This isn't just about football, it's about dignity. For decades, Burkina Faso has been treated like a forgotten zone, a place for handouts, never headlines. A nation used for its gold, ignored for its people. Traoré is flipping that narrative. He knows that sports unite, that music and culture inspire, that architecture, when built by locals, becomes more than concrete. It becomes memory. This stadium isn't imported. It's designed by African architects, built with Burkinabe labor, funded through national gold revenues, not foreign debt. Every brick laid sends a message. We can build greatness without begging for it. And that message terrifies those who profit off poverty. Critics in the West say, he should spend that money on hospitals. This is a vanity project. Burkina Faso doesn't need a stadium. But here's the truth. Under Traoré, hospitals are being built. So are clinics, so are farms, so are defense programs, schools, and water systems. The stadium is a symbol, a place for the youth to dream beyond struggle, a platform for African athletes to rise on African soil, a stage where the world will come and finally see Burkina Faso with new eyes. And maybe that's what scares critics the most. Not the cost, but the confidence. Because a confident nation cannot be controlled. It cannot be shamed into submission. It cannot be bribed to stay silent. Traoré's move is bold, but it's strategic. He knows the power of soft strength. That sometimes the greatest resistance isn't a rifle, it's a stadium full of proud citizens singing their anthem under their flag on land they built with their own hands. And guess what? The people support it. Not because they're obsessed with football, but because they're hungry for pride, for beauty, for moments that remind them we are more than what they show on the news. So yes, Traoré is building a stadium, but he's also building something far bigger, a new national psychology, one rooted not in survival, but in strength. And whether the world understands it or not, Burkina Faso is playing for something greater now. Not just victory on the field, but victory in the minds of its people.
I am Ibrahim Traoré, and today I'm pulling off your masks.
And now, the construction site of the stadium has become more than a project. It's a pilgrimage. Every day, thousands visit, not just to watch concrete being poured, but to witness something deeper, the rise of a nation that believes in itself again. Young engineers are volunteering. University students are helping with logistics. Local vendors are setting up food stalls nearby. Because this stadium isn't being built for elites. It's being built with the people, for the people. And what's most powerful? There are no foreign flags on the site, no logos from international banks, no signs saying funded by the EU or sponsored by USAID. Just one banner, Watan Kelie, Kom Kelie, for the nation, for the people. And that is revolutionary, because for too long, Africa's proudest moments have come with a price tag.
2 weeks after young officers ousted Burkina Faso's transitional president in the country's second coup in less than 9 months, Captain Ibrahim Traoré was sworn in as president. At a National Assembly on Friday, military, religious, and community leaders gathered to formalize Traoré's appointment.
A hidden contract, a backroom deal. Traoré is changing that. He's showing that national pride doesn't have to come from borrowed glory. It can come from your own soil, your own sweat, your own sacrifice, and the people feel it. This stadium has already sparked waves. Local artists painting murals of Burkinabe legends, architects from Mali and Guinea offering to help design similar projects, Pan-African youth forums now planning to hold cultural festivals there. The West watches in silence. Because how do you criticize a stadium that's not just for football, but for freedom? How do you mock a construction site where children chant the national anthem with dust on their faces. How do you stop a leader who's turning cement into sovereignty? And while they debate in boardrooms, Traore builds. He builds pride. He builds purpose. He builds proof that greatness is possible, even in the most underestimated places. Because this is not just about sports. It's about rewriting the story. For too long, Burkina Faso's story was written by outsiders. Now, it's being written by a generation who will stand in that stadium, under their own sky, with their own voices, and say, "We built this." And that sentence, "We built this," is already echoing across the continent. In a single project, Traore has reignited what decades of speeches could not: pride without permission. Not just national pride, African pride. Because this stadium isn't just concrete and steel, it's a statement, a declaration that says, we are no longer the world's project, we are our own possibility. And that message is spreading fast. In Niger, community leaders are now proposing youth centers inspired by Traore's model. In Togo, architects are revisiting local materials for large-scale construction. In Senegal, artists are calling for a Pan-African art festival to be held in Traore's stadium as its first global event. Because this stadium is no longer just Burkina Faso's, it's Africa's proof of concept. Proof that you can build big without foreign loans. You can inspire without permission. You can lead and still listen to your people. And what's even more powerful, it's on schedule, with local engineers, without international consultants, without inflated contracts signed in Europe. Every month, the public receives transparent updates. Budgets are posted on government websites. Progress is live-streamed in real time. Because Traore knows the structure will be concrete, but the legacy must be trust. And so, brick by brick, he's not just restoring infrastructure, he's restoring faith. Faith in self-rule, faith in community, faith in the idea that Africa doesn't need to wait another century for greatness. And as construction nears completion, one thing is certain. When that stadium opens, when the people fill the stands, wearing their colors, chanting in their languages, singing their own songs, it won't just be a game. It will be a reminder to every young boy and girl in Africa who's been told, you're too poor, you need help, you'll never rise, that those were lies, and that the future was never given. It had to be built, just like this stadium, just like this new era. And when that first whistle blows and the crowd erupts inside the brand new stadium, it won't just be about the score. It will be about the story. The story of a country once dismissed, now determined. The story of a leader once doubted, now delivering. The story of a people once forgotten, now defining the future. This stadium will host more than football. It will host history. Graduation ceremonies where students will walk the stage knowing they stayed and built. Cultural festivals where tribes that were once divided will dance under the same roof. International events that will force the world to pronounce Burkina Faso with respect. And for the youth, this will be their cathedral, a place where dreams are not delayed but dared, where the sound of cheers replaces the silence of oppression, where unity is not just preached, but felt. And as the floodlights turn on across the capital and the Burkinabe flag waves high above this $300 million monument, the message is crystal clear. Burkina Faso is no longer asking to be seen. It's making itself impossible to ignore. And Ibrahim Traoré, he didn't just build a stadium, he built a symbol of strength, of self-worth, of the rising African generation. A generation that no longer sees struggle as a curse, but as a calling. So when the world looks at that stadium and asks, why build this now? The answer is simple, because we're not waiting anymore. And perhaps the most powerful part of it all, the timing. This stadium is being built in a moment when the world expected collapse, when sanctions, isolation, and pressure were supposed to break Burkina Faso. But instead of folding, they built. Instead of riots, there was rhythm. Instead of retreat, there was resolve. Instead of silence, there was singing. Because Traore understands something the West still doesn't. If you want to kill a people's spirit, deny them joy. But if you want to raise a nation, give them something to celebrate. And this stadium is celebration in concrete form. A victory not just against poverty, but against the mentality that says, you're not ready. Because now, Burkinabe children will grow up.
Camarade Président Vladimir Poutine, camarade Président chef d'État africain, camarade chef de délégation.
And this is just the beginning. Because the stadium is not the end goal, it's the spark. Already plans are underway for what comes next. A national sports academy to train youth not just in athletics, but in leadership. A Pan-African cultural museum to preserve the stories they were never taught. Community entrepreneurship hubs surrounding the stadium, where locals can build businesses tied to the energy it brings. What started as concrete is now becoming a movement. Traore has shown that infrastructure isn't just for function, it's for identity. Every structure tells a story, and now Burkina Faso is writing its own, in stone, in sweat, and in sovereignty. International media outlets will try to downplay it. They'll say, it's just a stadium. But on the ground, people know it's proof. Proof that after centuries of being looted, lectured, and lied to, they can rise, they can build, they can dream and deliver. And most importantly, they don't have to leave Africa to live a full life. Because Traore is reversing the brain drain. Young engineers now want to stay and design. Artists want to stay and perform. Doctors want to stay and serve. Because now, they're no longer asking, when will we be free? They're saying, we are, now let's build. And that shift, that fire, is the most dangerous thing to every empire built on African submission. Because when the mind is free, there is no going back. And in the heart of Burkina Faso, that freedom now has an address. It's not just a stadium, it's a signal to the world. The age of begging is over. The era of building has begun. They gave him sanctions. He gave his people a stadium. If this story inspired you, like, share, and subscribe. And for more powerful truths from the new Africa, stay connected.